Gadsby here, and with Speedroids finally hitting Duel Links, I figure I only need about 25 million monetized views to be able to afford to play catch-up with yet another mobile game. So instead of trying to play Master Duel ever again, I figure we could talk about the anime. Could talk about the image macro from 2006 in his ancient Egyptian death games, one of the core pillars of the WB Saturday morning anime block, the last Yu-Gi-Oh anime that actually had an American viewing audience, or a very elaborate allegory for classism that's regularly eclipsed to laugh about.
Card games on motorcycles.
But instead I want to talk about how I finally got Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexal off my backlog. The daunting task of having to watch a show with a notoriously bad first half and then was a bit intimidating to say the very least. Thankfully a viewing guide exists for the show, so I did what any sane individual would do and completely ignored it, to watch the entirety of Zexal and see if Zexal II was worth watching. And I'm happy to report it was! In fact, my biggest complaint with the second season of the show is that it feels like it could almost be a standalone season. But I wanted to make Zexal II a bit more accessible to viewers who didn't have the patience to watch the World Duel Carnival, because there are some key moments in duels that you would miss out on if you did skip all of Zexal 1. So, spoilers for the first season of Yu-Gi-Oh! ZR. Zexal is composed of 3 seasons, and the first season does a great job at characterizing Yuma and his sidecast. Yuma brings a what if Joey Wheeler solved the Millennium Puzzle type of vibe, as the type of guy to never turn down a challenge, even if 90% of the time he's just fumbling his way to the finish line. We also get introduced to the girl character, Tori, the best friend, Bronk, and the plot device, Astral, a spirit from the astral world that attempts to teach Yuma how to duel so that he can collect his memories and learn his true purpose in life. Which I just want to take a second to say, naming him Astral coming from the astral dimension is stupid. It's like naming yourself 3 because you came from the 3rd dimension. We also meet Shark, the former pro duelist turned school bully turned gangster that gets introduced in the first episode, acting as a rival to Yuma. We also get a comic relief trio composed of a speech impediment, a furry, and an asshole, but nobody cares about them. So instead, let's talk about the introduction of the self-proclaimed number hunter, Kaito. Kaito is the token dragon type user of the series who can stop time and steal the souls of number users. His brother Haruto is also introduced as this season's mystery box blasting away at the astral dimension with the power of garbage for untold reasons. And the general rule of thumb for Zexal is that if Kaito or Shark are involved, it's usually an episode worth watching. We also get introduced to Chekhov's Yu-Gi-Oh card around this time as well. But the only thing you need to know about him is that he acts as a rival to Astral briefly after almost taking over all the numbers, and then he gets sealed away. The peak of the first season involves Kaito and Astral dueling on a blimp, with Yuma jumping in at the last minute to become the titular character Zexal. It's a solid introduction to the season, with a shadowy Dr. Faker explaining at the end that there are 3 parallel dimensions on a collision course. With the second season, however, I started understanding why people said Zexal was awful with the start of the World Duel Carnival. Unlike the DM era, where this marks the start of people actually playing Yu-Gi-Oh!, this mock battle city requires Yuma to play football, eat tomatoes, and learn what the gambler's fallacy is. After several useless episodes, Quattro finally shows up and gives us the fan service we've been asking for, by savagely beating the shit out of his fans. He reveals a shared plot line with Shark before his brother 3 jumps in and challenges Shark to a duel, in which he baits Shark into receiving a number card, followed by another detour. We get introduced to 2 more side characters in Droit and Gauche, only for them to lose to Yuma's Oh Reliable. Then Tron finally shows up in a plot to mess with Kaito's brother, forcing one of the best tag duels in the entire season, where Yuma tries to teach Kaito the power of friendship against Quattro and 3, while Kaito just starts blasting. We end the season with Yuma dueling 3 in another top 5 duels of Zexal, and I started getting optimistic that we might finally be done with the World Duel Carnival. With the start of Season 3, Tron finally makes his grand debut, revealing to Yuma that he can see Astral. But just like Season 2, we need to fast forward through all of the World Duel Carnival episodes that do absolutely nothing for me. But once we finally filter out all the non-main characters with roller coaster duels, that's right, card games on roller coasters, we finally get a batch of duels that are honestly all great, if not a little predictable. Droid gives us her best modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Impersonation against Tron's plot armor, with Kaito and 5 explaining their shared past as student and mentor. And Shark and Quattro get their salty run back, with Tron taking an opportunity to shit-talk his own teammate because it's all according to plan. But in the stadium, all the feeds are cut short because Mr. Heartland can't have the remainder of the cast know the plot. I mean, it's okay for them to watch Yuma and Gouch because they're not plot relevant, but I can't help but think to myself, what's the point of even having these matches if you're not even going to let people watch them? Regardless, each of the duels are probably worth watching, but we finally get our top top 4 with the expected victors of Shark vs. Yuma and Tron vs. Kaito. Yuma ends up defeating Shark because he was mind-controlled and he ends up having to off himself. Tron ends up defeating Kaito because, well, he needs to duel Yuma, which brings us to the climax of the World Duel Carnival Finals between Yuma and Tron on the main stage. And we get another set of make-believe bullshit rules where the duel turns into just throw number monsters at each other like it's a game of Go Fish. And yeah, I hate it. I understand that they need to make the viewers feel validated for watching all the barely relevant collectathon filler, but duels like this just don't do anything for me and undercut the climax of the season. Mid-duel, Yuma turns into Zayar and we get some of the only useful information you'll need for this entire half of the show, which I'll explain a little bit later. Zayar wins, but Faker decides to go full mask off and explain that the duel was actually a bomb, and he intends to throw it into the astral world, destroying it. This leads us to the true climax of the season, with Yuma, Kaito, and Shark doing a 3v1 to try and out-badass each other. And this is the only relevant information you need to watch all of Zexal II. Mid-duel, it's revealed that Yuma's dad, Kazuma, was actually an adventurer who helped Dr. Faker and Tron's research. Each was aware of the parallel dimensions of astral and Baryon worlds, so they go on a mission around the world to try and unlock these secrets. But during the mission, Dr. Faker decides to betray Kazuma and Tron in the name of science, with Tron eventually getting out and returning to Heartland as a child, but Kazuma still being somewhere out there. It's revealed the mysterious being of energy is puppeteering Dr. Faker, with Yuma, Kaito, and Shark striking him down. And then these guys show up. Zexal is a really difficult season. Most Yu-Gi-Oh! Seasons are only seen to be as good as their front-facing episodes, with the later halves of each season testing the bounds of exactly how far out of hand a children's card game can get. Zexal II is genuinely great by trimming the fat of the first season and replacing all of the bad characters with a new batch of more interesting side characters. You get a show that's much more rewarding to follow and doesn't feel as interchangeably episodic as Zexal I does at times. Instead of dealing with a mystery that none of the characters are allowed to know about, Yuma, Shark, and Kaito travel the world dueling the Baryons in known quantity. And most importantly, instead of making up bullshit rules on the spot about needing to eat tomatoes or play soccer, we literally just cheat. But by the end of the show, most characters get their own miniature story arc that leaves them changed, instead of a guy who's still an asshole at the end of everything. But I hope this helps people who wanted to watch Zexal II but got filtered by the World Duel Carnival. Oh wait, I forgot to mention, Yuma gets a new friend at the start of Zexal II and his name is...
Well,